Jake Ellis was a man used to winning in politics, in life, in love. Married to Kelly, a woman 3 years his senior but still stunning, he had everything a man could want. Power, status, and a beautiful family. But Jake's heart had grown cold, and what he craved most was youth and excitement, things his wife no longer gave him. Enter Lucy. Young, ambitious, and ready to believe she could change a man like Jake. 2 years later, she wasn't just his mistress. She was the one who held the cards. When the truth came out, everything Jake thought he owned slipped through his fingers. The houses, the money, even the woman who'd made him feel alive. Lucy sold it all. Filed for divorce. Walked away. And just like that, the man who once had it all was left with nothing. This is the story of how Jake Ellis lost everything, and how Lucy found something worth more than power or politics. Herself. Hello viewer, welcome back to our channel. If you like our stories or similar infidelity stories like this, please subscribe to our channel for stories like this. People think I knew what I was doing from the start. That I planned it all out like some gold-digging seductress waiting behind red lips and tight dresses. Maybe they're right. Maybe I did know what I wanted. But that doesn't mean I knew where it would all end up. It started at a fundraiser in Georgetown. One of those high-end political evenings where wine tastes like air and nobody eats the hors d'oeuvres. I was wearing a red dress with a slit that made even the security guards pause. Jake noticed me. Of course he did. He was the star of the night. Handsome, confident, 42 but looking 5 years younger. He gave a speech about American values, about preserving freedom and building trust. The crowd clapped. I rolled my eyes. But when he walked off stage and straight to me, I smiled. He introduced himself like I didn't already know. Jake Ellis. Congressman. Lucy Maren, I said, letting him take my hand. Just a nobody who likes red wine. He laughed. Deep real. You're far from a nobody. He was married, of course. Wore the ring but didn't mention the wife. I had to Google her name later, Kelly. She was a beautiful woman, older than him by 3 years, but you wouldn't have known from her pictures. Blonde, smart, sophisticated. She gave off the aura of a woman who'd stood by her man through 1,000 campaigns. Turns out she had. But Jake? Jake wanted something younger. Something looser. Something that didn't remind him of responsibility. He told me that a few weeks later over bourbon in a private hotel suite. I don't feel anything with Kelly anymore, he said, slouched on the bed like a tired child. It's like we're roommates. I was perched on the edge of the windowsill, legs crossed, watching the city lights below. Then why stay? Because it looks bad, he said. Family man sells better than truth. I should have walked out right then. Should have packed up my pride and gone home. But instead I stayed. Because I was 29, bored, and tired of building someone else's dream. And because I liked the way he looked at me. Like I was the answer to all his questions. So I became the other woman. For a while, it wasn't so bad. Jake moved me into a brownstone on Q Street. Furnished it with art I didn't pick and rugs I couldn't pronounce. I went from working a front desk to having drivers and stylists. Jake said he was careful. That Kelly didn't suspect anything. He still kissed her cheek at galas and posted filtered anniversary photos. Meanwhile, he'd sneak into my bed and whisper how alive he felt with me. Then I got pregnant. I didn't plan it, not exactly. But I also didn't try too hard to stop it. When I told Jake, he blinked like he was waiting for someone to shout cut and reset the scene. Are you sure? He asked. I showed him the test. Pretty damn sure. He sat down on the edge of the couch, rubbed his temples like he was solving some global crisis. I'll figure it out, he mumbled. This doesn't change things. But it did. Everything changed. Fast. Kelly found out. I don't know how, maybe he slipped up or maybe she just knew. Women always know. I wasn't there for the big blowout, but Jake told me she threw a glass at the wall and screamed something about betrayal. I didn't feel sorry for her. Not then. What people didn't know, what Jake never paid attention to, was how much I'd built around us. The brownstone? In my name. The cars? I'd paid for them. Slowly, subtly. I was smart about money and even smarter about timing. While Jake was busy chasing re-election and stroking egos, I was consolidating. Investing. Collecting deeds and signatures. Because I knew this kind of fire never lasts forever. And when it burns out, someone's left standing in ash. So when he started changing, showing up late, muttering about pressure, being cold even in bed, I took inventory. And when I heard him on the phone one night calling me a mistake he couldn't undo, I made a decision. I sold everything. Quietly. Legally. My lawyer handled it all. The brownstone went first. Then the vacation place in Maine. The Benz. The Rolex. Piece by piece, the little empire he thought he built around me crumbled. He came home one evening and found a notice on the door. "What is this?" "Sale closed today," I said, folding laundry. "You should have read the documents. They were in my name." He looked like a man gut-punched by the truth. "You can't do this." I just did. The next morning, I handed him the divorce papers. Yes, divorce. Because despite what his press team thinks, Jake and I got married in Vegas a year after we met. Secret ceremony. Just us and a drunken Elvis. It was legal. Binding. And now unraveling. He tried to fight it at first. But when the lawyers showed him the receipts, how little he actually owned, he caved. Packed up what was left in a duffel bag and left the house that wasn't his. I didn't cry. Not even when he slammed the door. The funny thing is, I never wanted forever. I just wanted control. Jake gave me the tools. I just built the exit. Now, I sit alone in a condo in Miami, baby growing in my belly, and a glass of orange juice on the counter. Jake calls sometimes. He's not doing well. Lost his campaign. Kelly wants nothing to do with him. And the new girl? The 22-year-old barista he tried to replace me with? She left after a month when he stopped paying for her nails. Life catches up to liars. Always does. And me? I'm just getting started. Forgets a man who used to own the spotlight. 1 minute, Jake was all over the news, posing with senators, flashing his perfect smile for campaign ads, making promises to people who believed every word he said. Then just like that, his name stopped trending. His calls stopped getting returned. And the invitations? They vanished like morning fog. That's how it goes when you lose everything in public. Especially when the reason is as old as time. A politician with a zipper problem. After I left and the divorce papers were signed, Jake tried to pretend like he was still standing. He'd show up at events looking polished, like he hadn't just been booted out of a home he didn't own. But behind the scenes, he was falling apart faster than his poll numbers. He rented a small apartment in Arlington. 1 bedroom, no furniture except a mattress and a chipped coffee table. He used to own 5 homes. Now he was living like a college dropout. I heard from mutual contacts that he was drinking more, sleeping less, and asking around for favors. Favors from people who used to owe him but now couldn't remember why they respected him in the first place. And the kicker? He still thought Kelly might come back. That woman. She's got more dignity in her little finger than Jake ever had in his whole body. She didn't go public, didn't trash him in interviews. Just quietly separated herself. Froze joint accounts. Took their 2 dogs and moved in with her sister in Vermont. When Jake called her asking for help, said he was going through a rough patch, she hung up and texted, "This rough patch is your doing. I'm not your crutch." I respected her for that. For not breaking down like he hoped she would. Jake thought he could crawl back into Kelly's arms and pretend I was just a phase. That's what men like him do. They gamble their whole life on someone younger, hotter, more thrilling. And when that new flame turns to smoke, they beg the past to take them back. But Kelly was no fool. And neither was I. See, after everything, after the money, the homes, the headlines, I started thinking about the baby growing inside me. I didn't want my child to grow up with a father who only knew how to chase power and pleasure. I didn't want Jake anywhere near the delivery room. I didn't trust him to hold a bottle, let alone raise a human. So I cut him off. Changed my number. Sent one final letter through my lawyer that said, "No contact until further notice. This child deserves peace." He didn't take it well. I got word he tried to show up at my old place, not knowing I'd already sold it to a couple from New Jersey. The new owner called the police when Jake started banging on the door yelling, "She can't just disappear." Oh, but I could. And I did. His mistress after me, her name was Jenna or maybe Jamie, lasted 6 weeks. A college girl with a pretty face and not much else. She liked the free dinners and the Louis Vuitton wallet he bought her with one of his last working credit cards. But when he stopped taking her out and couldn't afford her lashes or Uber rides, she bailed. Blocked him. Told everyone on TikTok he was just some broke dude who used to be somebody. And that, my dear, was the final straw. Jake stopped shaving. Started tweeting nonsense. Something about being betrayed by the people closest to him. He blamed me. Blamed Kelly. Blamed the press, the system, his own staff. Never once looked in the mirror and said, maybe I did this to myself. Because men like Jake? They don't do self-reflection. They do self-pity. One afternoon I got a letter. Handwritten. No return address, just from Jake in slanted ink. I almost tossed it in the trash. But curiosity won. It read, Lucy, I know I messed up. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if you'll read this. But I miss you. Not the house or the life, just you. The way you looked at me when I walked through the door. The way you made me feel real. If there's any part of you that remembers us before all the mess, I'm asking, please. Just talk to me. Jake. I folded it up and burned it in a ceramic bowl I keep for incense. I didn't cry. I didn't feel angry. I just felt done. This man broke 2 women. Lied to hundreds. And now wanted me to help him remember who he was before he fell. But Jake Ellis never really was anyone before the fall. He was just better at pretending. Now he was stripped bare. Alone. Unwanted. And for once in his life completely powerless. And me? I was sitting in Miami, 7 months pregnant, in a quiet home I paid for myself. I had peace. I had purpose. And I didn't need a man's name to make me feel like I mattered. Funny, isn't it? Jake chased power and lost everything. I let go of him and gained everything. The last I heard, he was applying for a job at a law firm that wouldn't return his calls. I guess that's what happens when the truth finally catches up to the lies. The day I gave birth, the sky was gray over Miami. Not stormy. Not sunny. Just still, like the whole world had paused. I remember sitting in the hospital bed, clutching my belly, thinking this is the beginning of something real. I named her Isabel. She came into the world quiet, like she already knew what kind of chaos she'd been born from, and didn't want any part of it. The nurses said she was one of the calmest babies they'd ever seen. Big eyes. A full head of dark hair. And when they laid her on my chest, I didn't think about Jake. Not once. That's the thing people never talk about. They think when you have a child by someone you once loved, your mind gets tangled in the memories. But not me. When I looked at her, all I saw was a clean slate. A future not tied to any man's shadow. Jake never showed up. He knew the due date. I told his lawyer, out of courtesy, not care. But he stayed away just like the papers said he had to. Maybe he was respecting the boundary. Maybe he was scared. Either way, I didn't miss him. After Isabel was born, I disappeared even further from his world. No more mutual friends. No more headlines. I stopped reading articles about politics altogether. Moved again. This time to a quieter place north of Miami, close to the coast, where I could hear the ocean in the mornings, and let Isabel grow up without reporters knocking on my door. I took a job consulting for a nonprofit, something clean with purpose. My name wasn't in any press releases. I liked it that way. Just Lucy Maren, mother of one, who made her own way out of a mess she never should have stepped into. About 6 months after Isabel was born, I got another letter. This one came from a P.O. box in Washington. No return name, but I recognized the handwriting instantly. Jake's was always a little too neat, like a man trying too hard to stay in the lines. I opened it. Lucy, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know I've started therapy. Real therapy, not the PR kind. I haven't had a drink in 60 days. I work nights at a legal aid office. The pay is awful, but I talk to people who don't care who I used to be, and somehow that feels right. I heard you had a daughter. I hope she looks like you. I hope she never knows who I was. I'm sorry I failed you. I'm sorry I failed everyone. Take care of her. Jake. I didn't write back. Not because I hated him. That part of me was long gone. I didn't write back because there was nothing left to say. He was living his version of rock bottom, and maybe he was finally learning what being human felt like. That's fine. But I had a child now. A new life. I couldn't keep dragging old ghosts into her future. Besides, he was right. Isabel didn't need to know who Jake Ellis was. She just needed to know she was loved. And she was. Every minute. Years passed. Isabel turned 2, then 3. She liked puzzles, blueberries, and dancing in her pajamas. She had my eyes, but her smile belonged to no one but herself. Sometimes people would ask, "Where's her father?" I'd just smile and say, "He's not around." And that was enough. Because Isabel didn't ask for him. Never cried for someone she never met. And I never let my bitterness shape her world. One day, a friend forwarded me an article. The headline read, "Former Congressman Jake Ellis works to rebuild reputation through community legal work." I didn't click it. Didn't need to. He was still trying to make a name for himself in a world that had already turned the page. Let him. That was his battle. Mine was smaller, quieter, and far more meaningful. I rocked Isabel to sleep each night with no noise in the house. No arguing. No lies. Just soft breathing and the hum of a lullaby. Peace. That's what I gave her. That's what I gave myself. And sometimes late at night, I'd sit by the window with a cup of tea and wonder what Jake thought about when he closed his eyes. Did he regret choosing ego over everything? Did he ever picture Isabel's face and feel the weight of what he lost? Maybe. Maybe not. But it didn't matter anymore. Because the story wasn't about Jake anymore. Not really. It was about a woman who was told she'd be nothing more than someone's mistress, and who turned out to be everything. It was about walking away before the fire took everything. It was about starting again. Not perfectly, but on my terms. And now when Isabel asks me where we come from, I tell her. From courage. From love. From a woman who chose to stand up instead of fall down. And that's the truth she'll carry. Not Jake's story. Ours. Have you heard or experienced similar stories? Let's hear how you handle it in the comments section. And do well to subscribe to our channel for more interesting infidelity stories like this.